Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pasticas. I'm so glad you're here. With the Brave Women at Work podcast, you'll get the resources and tips along with real-world stories and humor to empower and inspire you to take bolder and braver actions in your career and life. Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pasticas. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hey everyone, how are you doing out there? So it's been a while. It's been a minute. I was thinking about this. Like, when was the last time I had a Pasticas family update? It's been a long time. So here's a quick family update that will go right in line with today's show, kind of the theme of today's show. So in the last week or so, my husband John's his car, it's an old car, but he's taken such good care of it that we thought we had a long time with it. So his car's engine and his transmission completely blew up. It was like kaplooey, just done zo. So did we think we were buying a car this year? Yeah, no, that's a big nope. We had to surrender to what was happening. We had to delegate to one another during this really hectic and stressful time, and we had to pivot to a new plan. Well, I am pleased to say that we do have a second car once again, but it was a couple of dicey days there that it was like, who's taking the kids here? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? So for anyone who's rolling with one car in your family, much respect, much respect. So we're back to two cars again. Everything's good in the world, but it was a little bit, like I said, it was dicey for a couple days there. So, as a perfectionist and as someone that has a history of anxiety, these unplanned and unexpected situations that happen in life, right? They just happen in the game of life. Like, it's not all smooth sailing. They throw me for a tailspin. So I was thinking about as I was prepping for the show, it's like, why? Well, the bottom line is it's because I'm out of control. That's what I feel like is I'm completely out of control. And what is my typical pattern as I'm saying, kind of thinking this to myself? Like, what's my typical pattern when I'm in the middle of one of those times? I double down. I work even harder. I isolate. I don't delegate. I overfunction. I go to like the darkest shadow side of my personality, which isn't fun to be around. And so, my guest today, Tonya Herb, is welcoming me and anyone else that struggles with this to try a new way. So, what if we turn to others and delegated during stressful times? And I was thinking, what if we just delegated to them all the time? I know that's monumental for perfectionists like me, but what if we engaged in kindness towards ourselves and others and we just didn't go to that shadow side of ourselves? So Tonya has a method around this called the bike method, and she dives into her proprietary bike, that acronym, and the work she does with her clients, and how she leverages the bike method in the work she does. And so I was really excited to chat with her about that. So during my conversation with her, we discussed her own walk, Tanya's own walk with perfectionism, and how and when she pivoted, how delegation can assist us with perfectionistic tendencies. And even if we struggle with just maybe not as much on perfection, but still that sense of control with delegation, I, as a bonus, struggle with both, where we can start. So she has a fun story. Tanya's got a fun story behind the bike acronym. And if you watch the podcast on YouTube, you'll even see that she has a bike like physically on her wall. So it's like really a fun story and how she came up with her proprietary method and what that method is and how she uses it in the work that she does today. So here's a little bit more about Tonya. Tonya Herb once navigated the corporate maze, then became completely obsessed with the lead from where you are philosophy and flipped the script from corporate climber to your go to biz and really your go to bestie, whether you own a business or not. Hard knock lessons, relentless self development, and unwavering resilience fueled Tanya's journey from corporate to entrepreneur. And she could not be more excited to help any of her clients and all of her clients discover what fuels them. Tonya has lived the overworked and the overwhelmed, so she knows who we are. That's why she's on the show today. And she's here to tell all of us the truth on why we may be stuck. Together, she works with all of her clients to break through those barriers with an out of the box approach that leaves them feeling empowered and ready to pedal, love that, through at full speed. Today, Tonya wears many hats: leadership coach, keynote speaker, devoted wife, proud mama, paddleboard enthusiast. I've never tried that, but would love to at one point in my life. She says Graham, so I think that might be her nickname for grandma. And she loves every minute of it. Tonya is not just here to be a guide, she's here to be a mentor, coach, and her client's biggest fan, teaching the art of leading you first in true Tonya K style. And she feels that it's all about her clients, their journeys to being undeniably and unapologetically themselves, beginning right here and right now. So, if Brave Women at Work has helped you personally or professionally, I would love for you to share it. Share it all around the world. Share, right? So, we've hit 34, 35 countries is the max that we have hit. And I would love to maybe even get to 40 this year. I mean, think about that. Like, we're all over the world, and it just tickles my heart. It just makes me just so joyous to be able to do this work with you. It's not even work. It's pure bliss for me to be able to create this podcast. So if you can share it, I would so appreciate it. That also applies to any ratings and reviews. If you can share just that 5 star, I'm just going to ask for it, right? Ask for the review. If you could leave a 5 star, and if you feel so inclined to share some actual words in Apple Podcasts, that would, again, mean the world to me. And if you've already done that, I thank you so much. And then I always say, but I still owe you that extra freebie. It is coming. I promise you that. So I have 3 freebies on my site right now: 24 career and leadership affirmations, 5 ways to managing your imposter syndrome, and getting paid, 10 negotiation tips. And there's a 4th one. I'll just give you a little bit more info. I've been studying more about somatics and how our body and our minds can be disconnected, especially when we're in burnout, we're in like corporate or professional work. We're really stressed as women and as people. And so I am going to share something that'll help your body get back online and really help you control stress. So that's about all I'll share until it actually comes live. And then we'll do a big launch for that new freebie when it is out there. Again, you can get those at my website at bravewomenatwork.com. One final really exciting announcement. If you've been a listener for a while, you've heard me kind of talk about Thrive in 2025, which is a women's conference I'm co-hosting. But I want to tell you a little bit this time about our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker, her name is Erin Gallagher, and she is in Chicago. My gal is in Chicago, and she is the original hype woman. So again, that she is the original hype woman. And so I want to tell you a little bit about her. And the reason that she's so special is that most keynote speakers will kind of come in and then they buzz right out and then they're done, right? They're off stage and then they're out the door. Erin has already said she plans to be at the entire conference, which is really cool. So let me tell you a little bit about her. So Erin is the CEO and founder of Ella, an inclusive networking expanding women's access to human, social, and financial capital, and the founder of the Hype Women movement and podcast. So with over 20 years of experience in global marketing, business development, organization, and culture change, she is a small business owner, entrepreneur, and a mama of 2. Erin was named a 2023 Top 100 LinkedIn Creator, Top 10 DEI Voice, and it says number 5 in parentheses, and recognized for the top 100 most influential LinkedIn posts of the decade. She has over 81,000 followers or so on LinkedIn. It just blows my brain. Her book, Hype Women: Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarch, and Systems Silencing, is out in the world this fall. And I am just so excited she's going to be our keynote speaker. So if you want to learn more about the Thrive in 25 Women's Conference, it's going to be the 25th through the 28th of June, 2025, as we're recording this. It is going to be in the Chicagoland area, my backyard, and I am so pumped for you to be there. You can go to our website to learn more and register. It's www.thrive, THRIVE dash in the numbers 25.com. Again, that's www.thrive in 25.com. All right, let's welcome Tonya to the show. Well, hello, Tonya. Welcome to Brave Women at Work. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So good. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm glad that you're having a good one. As we were talking, everyone, Tanya's been having a good day, and she's got her beautiful background. If you're seeing us on video, you have a very calming space, and plus we're going to talk about the bike. Everyone, if you see that, she's got a bike up there, so we're going to talk about the whole bike and the metaphor and the story around that too. Um, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, Tanya, your background, and how you've gotten to where you are today?
So, the background starts out as a young 20 something year old, not really sure what I was going to be doing with my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. And I've had just this beautiful journey of so many different aspects of my life. And I really couldn't understand how any of them tied together because they were in such different spaces. I had a cleaning business. I worked for the post office. I was a balloon arch designer. I mean, right?
Oh,
All
wow.
of
I didn't
these.
know that.
That was so fun. That was one of my very first, that was my very first big girl job was I worked at the Talking Balloon here in Boise, Idaho. And it was the first balloon shop that a friend of ours had brought it to Boise. Anyways, um, I was in real estate for a stint. I did really well there, loved that. And I really learned a lot about leadership because I started out working for a builder and we were on the sales floor. And I actually was promoted into leadership from that point. And so that's where I really started learning about those types of things.
Mm.
I left that, went into financial services, and worked for a group of financial advisors, learned even more there. And during that stint in that space, I started doing more of my own self development. Like, who am I? What am I all about here? And my
Mm.
identity. And anyways, once I started doing that and started applying the principles that I was learning, people started asking me for help. And that's really how I got into coaching. Quite by
Oh, wow.
accident. Quite by accident. And so here I am today. Um, Helping people define who they are, what they do, how they show up confidently as leaders, how they learn to delegate. I think we're going to be talking a little bit about that today and getting out of your own way. And I work
Oh, that's so
best
good.
with, yeah, overthinkers, procrastinators, those kind of people.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I've been there for sure. I know you also deal with perfectionists. That's also what attracted me to you because I was like, oh, yeah,
Yes.
I know because I am, right? I'm not pointing fingers.
Mm,
I am one of those
absolutely.
people. Yeah.
Me too.
So, yeah, why don't we jump into your journey with perfectionism and how you've learned to manage it? And was there any type of catalyst in your life in which you could no longer, deal with what you were doing? I mean, it sounds like you were like seeking. So, why don't you take us to start through that journey of perfectionism?
I think it started out as a youngster and it was for me perfectionism was tied to people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much that space where as long as I could uh think faster than everyone else, if I could do more and outperform, then that made me feel like I was actually providing value and showing up. And what happened is where I really started to notice it is as I would start to put things out into the world, maybe this new checklist of sorts or new ideas and it would be good, but never good enough. And I
Mm-hmm.
just kept going back to the drawing board. And well, if I just tweak this or if I just do that, and it held me back from so many things. It kept me kind of locked into this space of I've got to do more, I've got to be more, I've got to be better. And that really robbed me of a lot of joy. And there was a question that was asked of me in a networking group that was a strong pivot point for me.
Mm.
And show up early, right? Dressed to the nines, everything in such a perfect way so that I could speak eloquently and like I knew what I was talking about. And the question in this networking group went around the room, here was the question: when was the last time you had a really good belly laugh?
Oh, wow. Great question.
And a lot of thoughts came to mind. And then as I was listening to the stories, as it inched closer person by person to me, I had this huge anxiety come up in me because the stories were so heartfelt and authentic. And what I was creating in my brain as my answer was very curated and carefully thought out so that it could be spoken eloquently, so that it sounded just right. And I realized in that moment that I was kidding myself. I didn't even really know what a belly laugh was anymore. I'd kind of lost myself in this perfectionism space. And that was really a pivotal point for me.
Wow. Okay, so everyone, and I like to kind of, some people like to take notes, or but the question to the audience, so I rhetorically is like, I just love that question. When was the last time you had a belly laugh? And I'm thinking, like when was the last time I had a belly laugh? So mine
Yeah, answer the
was,
question.
yeah,
Let's
so
hear it.
mine was I don't know what I was watching, but I was watching something so funny. And I literally folded in half on the couch. I was just like cracking up so much. That was probably in the last like month. Like it wasn't that long ago.
Hmm.
But I know what you're talking about, where you become like a human doing instead of a human being. And like you just lose. There's just something like, and now I'm really aging myself, but there was a very old movie. So go back and listen or watch everybody. Pleasantville, where everything was in black and white and then like it started to turn in color. So it's with Reese Witherspoon. It's called Pleasantville. And that's kind of what my world was going the opposite. It was in color and it was starting to turn black and white and it was just very flat, and wasn't full of joy. And so I completely understand what you're talking about.
I love that you have a story for that. I mean, if you really, it's a great conversation starter when you're in a group of people because first of all, now you get to hear about them
Yeah.
a space in a space that you would have never even known them, especially if you're just meeting them for the first time. Uh, it's just a great conversation starter. I highly recommend it.
Okay, so now I need to ask you, when was the last time you had your last belly laugh?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I can't leave it like that. You gotta, you have to answer too.
Okay, so here's a little bit. I don't know if you'd call it a belly laugh, but the giggles. And
Okay.
so a little side note about me is I have learned to play pickleball, and I'm still
Okay.
learning. And it's I'm not very good, but that's okay. I do it for the fun. And what makes it so fun is that we giggle a lot because how did that shot go clear over there and this way and that way? And
Mm,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Everyone's there to just play. And what I recognized is that when I'm playing, aka pickleball or paddleboarding, and when the weather's good, that's where I find that joy in that inside of play. And and so the last laugh I would say was last Saturday. We were on a couple's date playing pickleball and I hit this really good shot I was so proud of and I was just giggling across the floor going, "Oh, good job me." And so I don't know if you'd call that a belly laugh, but the
it's
giggles
still
are just
fun.
as good.
Yeah, no, it's good. I will take that for sure. So, okay, so that question was the catalyst, right? That said, okay, you can't do this the same way, which is a really interesting way for it to be a catalyst. But are there any other tools that you use to manage perfectionism? And the reason I use carefully the word manage is that they'll advertise like, oh, like get rid of your perfectionism, or like perfectionism is this horrible thing, like a disease. And I'm like, no, it's just something like I shared with someone else recently. It's just, to me, it shows you care. It really
Mhm.
shows that you care deeply, like you
Yeah.
care deeply, that you want to be excellent, right? It's just tipping to the unhealthy point. So I'm just wondering, instead of like beating it down or eradicating it, like how do you manage your perfectionism beyond what you just said?
Oh, what a great question. What I love you saying is that it's not something that's negative. It can go negative quickly, just
Mm-hmm.
like you said. But what happens is that we tie an identity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I am a perfectionist. And and you've already created some kind of definition around what that means to you, because perfectionism shows up differently for everyone. We all have different meanings. Like mine is tied to people pleasing. So yours could be tied to something else. It really is a personal journey. But to answer the question, the way for me to manage it is to first identify when I'm in those tendencies. So I no longer say I'm a perfectionist. I say I have tendencies that lean towards perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means to me is that instead of iterating 500 times on a certain project, I'll step back and look at it and say, is this my best at the moment with everything that I have? Have I given it my best? And I can say yes. And if I've scored between that 85 and 100,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel good about it. And I say, okay, let's put this out to the world. Because I'm rarely going to score myself as 100 on anything, right? But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
in that 85 to 100 range, I'm saying, yep, this is great. Let's put it out. And then we're going to get feedback. The piece that's missing in perfectionism is that we keep trying to assume that whoever's going to receive the information or the project or the speech or the meeting, we think we're trying to assume what they're going to get out of it. We can't control that. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot control that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is put in our best. And so there is a piece of work that I use called the circle of control. And I go back to that when I've identified my space. Am I acting in with perfectionism tendencies? Then what can I control in this? The way I think about it, the way I perform it, the message I'm trying to portray, and everything else is out of my control.
Okay, so is that the circle of control, or what is the circle of control?
The circle of control is knowing what you can control.
Okay,
Your
so
thoughts,
knowing.
your actions, your
Okay.
input, the things that you have control over, not the way other people react, respond, the weather, the politics, social media. You
Mm-hmm.
can't control those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's helpful for me because I have a very healthy ego apparently, and my ego thinks I can control everything.
Mm.
And so I think perfectionists, I'm generalizing here, but we have a tendency to like think that we have maybe more of a purview or a bigger, wider net of control, or we're
Mm-hmm.
worrying about things that are out of our control. So I like that you're reminding
Yeah.
what is in my sphere right now and what is outside of my sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess respecting it, because that also with
Yes.
strong ego tendency is to be like, well, no, they need to do it this way, right? Like I have this tendency where I'll even go beyond, like I'm in my sphere of control, but I'm trying to get into my neighbor's sphere of control where I'm like, oh, well, they should be doing it this way. No, it would be better done this way, right? So I
Yes.
think that it's releasing all of that.
Yes, I have a visual that I share with my clients,
Mm,
and it really is the circle of control, what you can control and what you can't. And you have to let those things go that are out of your control. Easier said than it is done. It's a daily practice for me. But there is one more element to a mindset that's wrapped up in this. And I don't remember if we've talked about the golden rule.
Mm-mm.
So everybody pretty much knows what the golden rule is. What would you say the golden rule is?
So that would be do unto others as you want to be done to yourself.
Right. And that's a great place to start. That's the golden rule. Most of us have grown up with that. And the issue with the golden rule is that it assumes under the assumption that everyone thinks the same. Everyone wants
Mm,
the same thing. So if you imagine it in this very simple form of everybody wants the same thing, okay, then why would restaurants have a menu filled with options? Why
mm,
wouldn't we just all have the thing? Don't we all want the same thing? No. You don't want the same thing as me. I don't want the same thing as you. We may have similarities, but that's where we actually start to really think in our brain, wow, I don't know what others want, which that's where the circle of control is tied in. So what we do is we replace it with the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat others the way they want to be treated.
hmm,
And the only way to do that is to be curious and ask questions and be and remove your own ego, understanding that everything isn't all about you.
hmm,
And when you start pulling those pieces in, the platinum rule, circle of control, and awareness, you start to recognize that perfectionism is very much about control and what you can and can't control.
hmm.
And it
Okay,
gives
I've
you
got a lot. I'm like kind of like I'm like
Oh
sinking.
my gosh, I can see your face. You're like processing.
I
So
know.
I can't wait to unpack this with you.
I know. I'm like, okay, okay. So that's like, I'm like, all right, the element of control, right? This is like my own. I'm in school, everybody. I'm in school. So as I'm processing it, is one thing I'm thinking about perfection, and perfectionism and letting go of that need to have control.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a demarcation line? Like, did you actually feel like you were grieving your old self? Like the tendencies of your old self? Was there any feelings of loss at all? Like that I have a very my burnout was a demarcation line, for like my
Mm-hmm.
old self and my new self. I don't know if yours was more gradual or if it was like, no, I actually did feel a sense of loss of like
Mm-hmm.
who I was before, or maybe gain because you were like, I need to let go of that person. So any thoughts around that?
Wow, that's so loaded. We could do 2 hours right here on this moment. No, I'll try to keep it short. So a couple of spaces there. The first one being, did I feel any loss of, like who I thought I was? And I don't know if it was so much a loss or so big of an aha where I was thinking, oh, oh, I have been practicing the golden rule, which I thought was the first thing, right? First rule.
Hmm.
And not recognizing that everyone has a different need. Everyone has a different story. So how could they possibly know what's going on in my brain? How would they possibly see it from my purview? And is my opinion the only opinion? It really made me step back and go, I need to be a better student. I want to be a better student. It led me more down a path of, I really am curious about what makes people tick. And up until that point, I had been more in the space of what's in it for me. And that sounds so, I don't even know how that sounds. It doesn't sound great now that I'm saying it out loud, but that's really what I went through. Is there a loss or a grieving space? I think the space that I think the most about is how unaware I was in my early 30s, my late 30s and early 40s. And I thought I was just conquering the world. I was just going after it, just getting after it. And taking names, right? Just going. And when I started coming to an awareness of, wow, leadership isn't about people following you or you having all the answers. It's really more about pulling the best out of people
Mm-hmm.
and showing them their brilliance, their greatness, and what makes them amazing. That's how we move the needle. It's not about everything we can do. So when you start thinking in those aspects, you start recognizing that your own perfectionism tendencies is not helping anybody,
Well, because
especially
it's
yourself.
shutting you off. Okay, so I'm kind of interpreting here. So let me know if I'm right or wrong or somewhere in between. It's shutting you off from connection, right? So if you know better and if you're right, right? Because a perfectionist often is like, well, I know better or I'm going to do, what I think is right, kind of like a moral high code. Then how can you be listening? How can you be curious?
Right.
Especially when ego, like high ego is involved. And I'm only calling myself like kettle black, black kettle, right? I mean, I'm calling myself out here. But then once you kind of start managing it, you may have some space to listen and to get curious about other people, moving to the platinum rule rather than the golden rule.
Mhm. Well said. I, I don't even know if I could repeat that, right? I mean, yeah, we're traveling down the same path right here, right now, same page.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's really, really good. So for someone who struggles with this, the reason I bring this up over and over again is because it's something that I think it's part of the human condition, and why I
Hmm.
think that we should keep talking about it is there's not enough people talking about it, and a lot of us are suffering in silence.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a whole topic in and of itself. That's silence, suffering in silence. Yes. The more people you talk to who are running their lives, running teams, running companies, you know, doings, right? The more
Yes.
you recognize that there are a lot of people using the same language and keeping it to themselves. I think the service that you offer people by just holding this space to teach your audience about these types of conversations is so important.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. I'm biased, but I agree. Uh, so I want to shift because this isn't something we've talked a lot about on Brave Women at Work, but I want to shift to move to delegation.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm actually struggling with it again. So I'm outing myself again. So, as my business is growing at Brave Women at Work and the podcast and everything like that, I'm attracting, more people around me. And it's like this like fight. Whereas a perfectionist, I'm like, well, I can do that. I can do that. And P.S. everybody, I think you all know I'm still in corporate. So it's like, how much stuff can I put on my plate before I get trapped under a boulder and it gets out of control? And so I do get stuck in these patterns where I don't want to delegate because I can do better or I can make it perfect. And it's not good. And so I just wanted to talk with you because it's really often these conversations reflect back what I need to learn. So, what is your thought on how delegation played a role in managing or continues to help you in managing your perfectionism?
Delegation is probably the most important thing to learn when letting go and giving yourself. I hear people talk about having more freedom or more time or more, right?
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
can't have that if you continue to hang on to everything. So, one of the first questions I typically ask people is, what's holding you back from letting XYZ go?
Mm.
Whatever the thing is. Why aren't you letting it go? Is it because you don't think you don't have trust for the person that you think should handle it? Is it because you can do better? You think you can do it better and you can do it. Of course, you can do it really, really well. but there are also there are more ways to get to the finish line than just your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think creating space for that. And if you're thinking about the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule lets people be who they are, bring their own brilliance to the thing that you're going to delegate, and they can run with it. The thing is that we can't be good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what by hanging on to everything, what we're saying is we're pretty good at everything.
Well, I think I'm good at everything. But there's that ego that comes out, right?
Right. And the thing is that what are you excellent at? Be
Mm.
excellent at that and let the other stuff go because the person that you're delegating to is excellent at the thing you're delegating to them. You're taking away their opportunity to shine, be brilliant, to give back, to give in their way. So by hanging on to it, you're actually taking away someone else's opportunity to shine and grow and elevate.
I'm processing, but what I will say is, speaking from experience, I've been bit by delegation too. So let's
Tell me
say,
how.
I'll tell you how. So I'm at work, non-named person, give them a task. I delegate it to them. I'm probably nervous, like they probably can tell, right? That I've nervously delegated it to them and they don't meet my standards. So they, turn it in and then they don't, it's just not to the level of excellence. Remember, perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm in that loop where I'm like, see, so I'm finding that
Mm-hmm. Yes.
confirmation of, see, this is stupid. I shouldn't delegate because I could do it better myself. So when I'm in that loop, and I've been there, I've
Yeah.
learned to get out of it, but I'm thinking there might be some listeners who are like, yeah, Jen, yeah, like I don't want to delegate because that very thing. Then what? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, my first question would be, did you explain what the standards are and how it would look for them to meet those standards?
Hmm.
Like, so you can delegate the thing and just go here, make chocolate chip cookies. Here's the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the
Mm-hmm.
ingredients, right? Go. But did you tell them that you really like a little less flour so they're a little more softy, or that you like to cook them at 350 versus 375 and you take them out 1 minute earlier just so they stay soft? Or if you're a crunchy cookie eater, different delegator, then you like add X number of degrees to the temperature of the oven and you leave it in a little longer. Do you see where I'm going here? Is
Yeah.
that when you're delegating something, you can't just, well, you can. You can hand it over and say, here you go. I'm going to give this to you because I think you'll be good at it. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
That that's unfair. That's unfair, right? So how we get really good at delegation is we really learn how we communicate.
Mm.
And in order to delegate well, you have to improve your communication skills. Here is this project. I know you're the right person for it. Success looks like this. The time frame for first iterations or finished is this. If you have
Mm.
questions, I'm available at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever
Mm-hmm.
day. So you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of see where I'm going there. You giving them the opportunity to show that they're capable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Mm-hmm.
right, you can do it better until they get the hang of it.
Mm.
And then they're going to fly
Well, and
only with feedback.
I want to caution, and I kind of put some stuff in there. So if you are a nervous delegator, your employee or your team member or your project mate or even your spouse,
Or your
everyone,
teenage kid,
or your
right?
teenage kid, everyone is going to be like on eggshells. So they may compensate, or they may not, they may get demotivated. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you're a hoverer, like with your teenager, be like, so you're going to make that bed? When are you going to make that bed? And then when they make the bed, they're like, but it's not like corners. It's not like, like all precision, right? Like
I
there's a
was just going
wrinkle.
to use that example. Yes, you're right.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
when you delegate, you talked about letting go, and I have no idea why this came up, but I just a plug here, right? This is so interesting. We didn't know each other then, but Brave Women at Work, our women's anthology series, the book series, the subject for this spring, the book is going to come out, and the title is Brave Women at Work: Lessons in Letting Go. So pretty fun that that is
Yay.
going to come out this year in the anthology. But you have to let go to let people actually deliver excellence back to you. After I think
Hmm.
you made a very good point of being a thorough explainer rather than just having them assume or not giving them the information, maybe because you want to covet it or you don't want to let it go, or maybe you just forgot to be a thorough explainer, but you need to do
Hmm.
that too.
Communication is the key, right? And giving someone a safe space to learn and fail, because failure is only feedback. That's all it is. If you can't give someone direct feedback and not beat around the bush, that's unkind. If we
Hmm.
talk about genuine kindness, it's kind to share the full instructions. It's kind to give feedback. It's kind to be direct with people
Hmm.
because we all want to grow. We don't show up to work that saying we're gonna have a crappy day. We're just gonna half do all of our projects halfway. People want to show up and they want to do a good job.
Hmm.
They need those opportunities.
And you need to trust them until they prove you
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. And get out of your own way, because if you want to build a team, there's nothing more disempowering than to have a lack of communication, constant last second changes, which we can all deal with change and adjustments, but just the lack of trust that you're building this thing that's bigger than you.
Hmm.
When you start to hold that space, your team will start to feel it. They'll start to perform better.
So for my delegators, my reluctant delegators, what would you say? Where would you begin um, with starting? Because some folks, maybe they were an individual employee, right? They didn't have a team and they inherited a team, or they're a new
Yeah.
manager or what have you. And they're like, I don't know anything about this delegation. Or like we talked at home, like maybe one spouse does everything. And it's like, you know what? I'm exhausted. I really need to start to learn this skill. So where do they begin? Or what would you recommend where they would, what's the baby step?
I when I'm sitting down with an employee or a leader, top producer, whoever it is, for the first time, we're talking about how many things are on their plate
Mm-hmm.
and how many things they do that they're just okay at. And when they start to really make that list of things, then we pick the top two. Who can, what are the top two things that you can delegate, that you can let go of, that you could actually really release and not covet, right? Like you said before. And then we start to say, okay, what does someone that you delegate to need to know about this thing? Maybe
Mm,
it's um I have a couple of attorneys that I work with. And so for them, it's about incoming information that is coming in from clients, like the email, the constant email flow, right? And they
mm-hmm.
can't keep on top of it because they're working cases, they're going to court, they're doing all the things, right? So they need someone that can handle that. What are the expectations? Clients, I want them I want a response within 24 hours. And you're free to state calendar times or these types of things at this time. So you're identifying a couple of things, you're putting the parameters around it of your beliefs, and you're kindly sharing that with the person you're going to delegate to, and then let them go. But here's the one piece that most people miss. It's the daily check-in. How's it going?
Mm.
What questions do you have for me? How can I help you be successful? And it's that follow up because at first you need that check in. And then pretty soon you can go a few days and then maybe once a week you just check in. How's this going? What's getting in your way? How
But
can
you
we
know what's very interesting, though I'm sorry to interrupt you. There are some questions you didn't say. Are you good? Yep. You know, you were like, how can
you
I help you be
yeah,
successful? Right. So an open-ended question to get that
right.
person talking rather than a, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good.
Well, and the other thing is that now their sole focus is this XYZ thing. We're going to call it
Mm-hmm.
the email that comes in. So now you can ask, what would make this easier or better? Are there automations that can take place?
Mm-hmm.
Are there can we time block so that it between 9 and 10 in the morning you're checking the emails, giving all the answers, and then you're closing it down and then opening it up at 1 p.m. and rechecking instead of having this constant interruption all day. Like the person handling it will have great ideas about how we can make this better.
Mm-hmm. No,
That's a win.
that is a win for sure. No, that's great. So yeah, this is also good. I'm gonna have to listen to my own recording again till I go to school. So everyone, we're encouraging you, lovingly encouraging you to start delegating. And one of my big things this year is to protect my energy. I have to. I've got too
Oh,
much
I
on the
love
plate.
that.
Yeah, and I think this is a key. Delegating, learning to delegate is a
Hmm.
skill that can help you protect your energy. So if you're like me and have many full plates, I'm glad that we talked about this. I do want to shift our topic because I want to get to the bike behind you.
Mm,
It's on your website. And so for everyone, Tanya has a physical, it's not a full bike, but it is a
it's
beautiful,
not.
no, but it's big enough, right? It's a nice little art piece of art for a bike. So why don't you tell us the story behind the bike and what your bike system is?
The story behind the bike is I I mean I'm hesitating here because it feels like such a long story.
That's okay. Tell me the story.
Okay, so a few years ago when I was in corporate, I was on a sales call with one of our financial advisors. And we were visiting this group of people having this conversation, and we were walking out. They owned a fireplace store, and they had some random household trinkets and artwork and things in their shop. And interestingly enough, we were walking out and I walked past this bike and I was like, And the next thing I know, I'm paying for it,
Hmm.
for this piece of art, this metal bike on my wall. And I paid $100 for that bike. And it seemed like a little outrageous at the time. And it still to this day seems a little outrageous, but okay. And I brought it home and my husband said, "What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "I don't know." And I don't know. It just spoke to me. And I had no idea why. Well, and that was like 2018. That bike sat under my stairs in the storage space under your stairway
Oh yeah.
for years. And I every time I moved it, because I didn't put it up, I didn't do anything with it. Every time I moved it, I thought, I got to get rid of this thing. It's just in the way. What am I doing? Right? I'm sure there are some people listening that have a thing in their life that
Oh,
they
a
keep
lot of
moving from
people.
space to space.
Yes.
Anyhow, fast forward COVID. We're home, right? I'm home for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And I'm like, we're not going anywhere. So I closed down the guest room, which I didn't really need, and made it my home office. And so I get all set up, my desk all cleared and perfect, and the walls are empty because the decor for the guest room wasn't going to work. Anyways, we where's that bike? Huh, that'd be a great piece. I stick it on the wall. I go get that bike that's been under the stairs. I stick it on the wall. And I'm just sitting there, kind of staring a few weeks later past it, at it. You know, those moments where you're just kind
Yeah.
of in and out of it. And I recognized how life is so much like a bicycle. Like the bicycle doesn't work unless you have all the parts and pieces, the wheels, the pedals, the handlebars, the seat, all of it was so much like a bike. And my brain just kind of started iterating. So fast forward to now, I have a system that I use to help people be more of who they are, to grab life by the handlebars and ride. And we use the acronym BIKE, BIKE. The B stands for be you. And that's where your authenticity comes in. You don't have to be something that you're not. Just let go of all of those expectations that others have and find the thing that gives you joy, brings you joy, makes you giggle, the belly
Mm.
laugh. Be
Mm-hmm.
be you. Be quirky, be weird. The I stands for insight. And I use the insight. You've heard me ask this, you've heard me mention this before, but insight, because if I don't know about you, but I go into new spaces where I'm meeting new people and I'm thinking, oh, what if they don't like me? What if I say something stupid? What if there's the perfectionism, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, so instead of that, what we do is we shift gears and we get really curious. And it helps take all of that pressure of who we have to show up as, and it lets us be in the space. Insight. What insight can I take away from this collaboration between you and I? What
Mm.
insight can I learn about your listeners, your podcast, the work you do? What will I learn about me just in this conversation? So you've got be more of yourself, be you, insight. The K stands for kindness.
Mm-hmm.
We can all use a little bit more of that. But here's the great thing. Emory University did a study on kindness. And what they found is your brain's pleasure and reward center lights up when you give kindness as if you're the receiver and not the
Mm.
giver. So your brain doesn't know any different. It just knows the feeling of kindness and it has the sensation. So when you're kind to others, your brain thinks you're the one receiving it. How great is that? Hold a
That's
door.
cool. That's cool.
Hold a door open. Just tell someone they look amazing or I love your pink background. I love it. Right? And then
Mm.
the E stands for engage. So engaging is connecting with others. It's connection. How many times have you sat across the table from someone or in a meeting and they've been scrolling? That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel engaging at all. And what we're starving for connection. And Brene Brown says this absolutely brilliantly when she's talking about connection. Connection is the energy that's created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued.
Mm. Seen,
So,
heard, and valued.
need, heard, and valued. So, you be more of yourself. Always look for insight. Where can I learn? Show kindness because it's just the greatest thing to do for yourself and others. And engage. Be fully engaged. That's what the bike stands for.
Mm. Be fully engaged. Wow. That's really, really good. And you know what? I think those are downloads, like where you were just like kind of staring and then looking at it and looking at it. And isn't it interesting? Like the bike came alive to you at the right time.
Yeah. Yes. It's amazing. I love it. I have bikes everywhere.
Oh, now
Clients,
you do? Oh, so you have them
cli-
everywhere now?
I have one behind the desk. I have little small ones. I have keychains. I have pizza cutter. I mean, my clients send me stuff all the time. Pizza cutter, all the things. It's so funny.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. You're like, I got
I
bikes
have
everywhere
bikes
now.
everywhere.
Well, that's you now. That's your calling
Yeah,
card. That's you,
it is. It
Oh,
is.
that's so fun. Oh my God, that's great. I do want to ask you one other main question, then we'll start to wrap up. But
Okay.
you wrote a blog recently. I think it was either in January or you were recording in February of 25, and about role confusion. And I was like, oh, like I got into that one. And the reason that it attracted me is that I was thinking about delegation in our conversation today. And so I'm going to ask you this question. So if you are not like a clean or effective delegator, how does that relate to role confusion, like in teams, right? So if
Mhm.
I'm not really delegating, right? Like, am I the employee? Am I the leader? Am I the manager? Like, what role do I play? Because I think it would cause all type of confusion in teams if delegation is not flowing properly. So what are your thoughts on that relationship between like role confusion and maybe poor or no delegation at all?
I have a follow-up question to ask some clarity about the role confusion and why it spoke to you.
I think it's because I was thinking about the delegation and I'm like, you know what? I have had situations where I delegate, then I undelegate, and then I'm like kind of following the employee as I'm delegating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then the employee's like, okay, are you doing it? Am I doing it? Like, who's doing it? Like,
Right.
that is really kind of a role issue in the project, for example, to say, are you leading the project or are you doing this piece of the project? Because I was either afraid to delegate or I was maybe not fully trusting them or maybe not letting go myself. And so I've messed this up big time where like who's doing what in a project has gotten all mixed up.
Mm-hmm. You just answered a lot of your own questions right there. The so let's talk projects specifically. That makes it easy, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting down to do a project and you're identifying the players inside the project, the role they play also has to be identified with the outcome of the project. What is their piece in the project? So if everyone is
Mm,
working toward the same thing and everyone knows what every person is doing inside the project, that's accountability. Because if someone isn't holding their end, that's where you as a leader have an opportunity to coach
mm-hmm,
and teach. There's a difference between teaching, training, and coaching your teams. You
mm-hmm,
have to identify which hat you're wearing at the project level when you first put it together.
mm-hmm.
Does
And
that make
hold,
sense?
yeah, and hold to it. I think it's the discipline to hold to it. So
Yeah.
I might have even set that, but then if I'm like jumping in, there's where the confusion comes in and like what my role in the project is. So
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
I'm the leader, if I'm the executive sponsor or I'm the head of this project, and then I'm coming to you, and then I'm like, well, I'll take that on. I'll take that on. It's like, wait a minute, I'm super confused. Like, well,
Yeah.
I wasn't I supposed to do that at the front? So instead of
Right.
coaching, like I've jumped in and done because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to maybe have the tough conversation or I was afraid of delegating or what have you. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
you just said it. That tough conversation, because the other thing about delegation is learn how to provide feedback to others
Mm-hmm.
and take it. That those are huge points because if you're
Mm,
avoiding tough conversations, why? Because it's uncomfortable. But why is it uncomfortable? Because of how we think about it. Tough conversations, conflict, feedback, constructive criticism, they're all named kind of the same thing. But having those think about what comes out on the other side. Clarity. The whole
mm-hmm.
goal we're trying to get to is getting clear on what we're doing and how we're doing it and who's doing it. When you step in as a leader, you can step in, but you're also, when you step in, you're always going to step on somebody's toes. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to disempower them very quickly, that's how you do it. Is you step in and you step on toes. Instead of asking, is there, if they're, especially if they're stalled or they're stuck or they're afraid to ask for help because there hasn't been a safe space for them to ask for help
Mm,
because there's not been the trust built, then
mm-hmm.
then then we start to learn to be better askers of questions. We start to get more curious and look for more insight. What's holding you back? You
What
know,
do you
it,
need to be successful?
right? What do you, and it, does this feel easy to you or is this hard? Where is it hard? What
That's a good
things would
question.
make it easier, right? Do they need more resources? Do they need more time with you? Like more instruction? Or are they a people pleaser as well and a perfectionist and they don't want to let you down?
Mm,
And I see that a lot. Teams don't want to let the leader down or the manager or the owner or whoever, whatever the title is, because it's not about a title. It's about the role you're playing inside the project or inside the team. And those, when you tie your identity to a title, that gets dangerous. The role at the time of the project or the thing that you're doing is the thing that you can move forward with because it has an outcome, it has a way to hold you accountable, and it tells you what the measures of success are.
hmm And I would say one last thing. So let's say I just mentioned the example from the leadership perspective that I'm now
Mhm.
waiting in the individual contributor and I'm making confusion and chaos in my own project. Fine. Let's say you're the employee that's the recipient of that and your manager is kind of like delegated and undelegated and delegated. I mean, it's just really confusing.
Mhm.
I think that's a time for managing up, right? And asking for clarification to be like, okay, I see that you're taking on this piece, no problem, but I just wanted to clarify because when we originally set, what everyone was doing, it was clear that this was my piece of the project. So are
Mhm.
you still wanting me to do that or has that changed? And how has it changed? And what is my new accountable, right? So
Right.
managing up so that you are not confused in your portion of the project or the delegation or whatever. So if you're a recipient of poor delegation, you have a role in straightening it out as well.
Exactly. That's that actually pivots right into that space that I talk a lot about on stages is leading from where you are. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what your role, your title, your position is, it's your job to show up. And clarity doesn't come always from the top down. Clarity is everyone's responsibility. And you said it so beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, thank you. That's really helpful to kind of clarify for our folks that are more inside the project. So,
Mhm.
I ask every one of my guests this, would love to hear your perspective. So, what are 1 to 2 ways that women can be braver at work today?
The first way is to adopt the bike method.
Of course, let's get on that
Right?
bike.
That's the first way,
Yes.
right? And to take the time to understand what makes you giggle and laugh. Because the more we embrace that fun and play, the more we can show up as a better version of ourselves. And when we show up that way, the whole world around us changes. It levels
Mm,
everyone else up because of the energy you bring.
that's so good. I think we've done like 200 some episodes. I think that's the first time joy and play has come up. So thank you. I don't think it's
You're
come up
welcome.
before. Thank you.
It's
It's
time to
good.
play
It's
again.
time to play. Let's get on that
Mhm.
bike. Okay, so how can women find and connect with you online and of course all of your work, the bike method and everything you do?
Hmm. I believe I have sent you a link tree, and if I haven't, I can resend it.
Mm-hmm.
That will be in the show notes. Is that
Yes,
correct? Yeah.
everything will be in the show notes.
And
Yes.
that's how people can connect with me. So for listeners, for your listeners, I love, love, love nothing more than to connect with people. And I offer a free 40-minute session with me to just talk about leveling up, to talk about leadership, to what's next for you. That's my give back. So in that link tree, you'll find a place that you can get on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a couple of free downloads, and you can connect with me on social media, Instagram, Hey Tonya K, or on LinkedIn.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for talking about hard topics today. But I think that we've done a beautiful service of kind of revisiting perfectionism. It's been a while since I've talked about that and kind of new on the delegation side. And I hope it's been really helpful for everyone listening because it surely has been helpful for me. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Jen. It's been fun to talk to you.
Well, that's a wrap on my discussion with Tanya today. I hope you found our conversation both valuable and inspiring. Here are a few questions to journal or think on until next week. If you struggle with perfectionism, how is it holding you back right now, even if it's just a little bit? If you have struggles with delegation, what is the smallest step you can take to let go of control to free up your time and energy while not only flexing your own personal leadership muscles, but allowing others to help you while growing their own? And what from the bike method, which again is be you, gain insight, show kindness, and engage genuinely, can you incorporate into your life and work? As a reminder, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The show is also available on any other podcast platform you enjoy. Until next time, show up, drop that perfectionism, and start delegating, and be brave.